And then having worked in the agricultural space as a science teacher, as you can imagine, Bunsen burners and Year 7 kids is always fun. I think it's really highlighted that in different industries there are different work, health and safety policies that are in place, and the family-run farm does come with its own issues. Again, because you have a family-run farm, I've learnt from my father, that is a concern. So we do need to make sure that these family-run farms, being multi-generational, are actually implementing new policies and safety things in place, not just following what's been done in the past. So, oh, I think I used this thing. Nope, wrong way. Oh, it's the one that's been used, I see. So I love working on the farm. As you can see from this cute little image here, every day is different, and you're faced with a novel situation where the employer and the employees need to navigate the health and safety risks to avoid a near miss, injury or death. So even on our farm, we work with pivot irrigators, underground irrigation mains, hydrants and fittings. As I saw the Tas irrigation guy at the back there, he's well aware. Hazardous chemicals and fertilisers, livestock, very unpredictable, automated machinery, electric fences, live power lines above and below ground, open waterways and deep water, heavy and slow moving machinery, quad bikes, motorbikes, unmarked drains, ruts, rocks and stumps, just to name a few. So I'm really slow on this, sorry. For a relatively small industry, agriculture packs a punch at the highest number of fatalities in any industry in Australia. Injury numbers, as you can see here, are increasing, and it doesn't take much for an injury accident on a farm to result as a fatality. As you can see from these statistics, the trajectory hasn't altered over the past 10 years and will continue to track along unless there are some really new drastic programs that are implemented into the country. The loss of time and money can never truly reflect a severe injury or fatality, but from these statistics, it's costing the industry around $113 million per year. With the average farmer being 17 years older than the average worker at 56 years old, nearly 90% of the fatalities are male and half of those are over the age of 50. As farms are people's workplace and homes, children fatalities are way too common, with 15% of the deaths being under the age of 15. So with only 2.6% of the workforce in agriculture, we account for 21% of the fatalities. So that's not a race we want to win. In the northeastern part of Tasmania alone, there have been 4 deaths from tractors in the past 4 years and 1 electrocution more recently. So it's time for a change in farm safety. Primary Employers Tasmania recognised that one of the key elements of workplace health and safety is a good induction process, which identifies workplace hazards and how to address them. However, one of the problems PET found with workplace inductions that it is too often that it's a tick-the-box process, which doesn't ensure the employee has understood the content. And also it's a third-party source of information for both parties to refer back to at a later date. Primary Employers Tasmania decided to mimic their building industry's white card with the creation of AgCard for agriculture. The AgCard is an online pre-induction tool which provides comprehensive and simple workplace health and safety information and checks the inductee's understanding with a straightforward assessment. The AgCard currently consists of 2 certificates, Safe Farming and Human Resources. It can be accessed on any device, phone, tablet and laptop with an internet connection. The Safe Farming certificate uses materials generously provided by Safe Farming Tasmania to demonstrate safe workplace practices in an agricultural setting. It was then altered by PET staff, collated and formatted by a web designer into a user-friendly online platform. Other industry bodies, including Fruit Growers Tasmania, Dairy Tasmania and Wine Tasmania, were consulted to ensure that the content was relevant across all agricultural enterprises. Additionally, user testing was conducted across a wide range of potential users, from experienced farmers to managers to school students. This certificate takes around 1 hour and can be completed all at once, or you can log in and out. So the Safe Farming Certificate covers 18 varied aspects of risks identified by Safe Farming Tasmania, including, as you can see here, animal handling through guarding on machines, quad bikes and side-by-sides. So some employees, we always get the feedback saying, oh, but we don't have a forklift on the place, or our employees know not to use chainsaws. But our concern is that this certificate is relevant for 3 years, that if they move workplaces or go and access someone else's workplace to pick something up, they might come into interaction with those things. The chainsaw and the forklifts, all they say is do not use unless you're licensed to. So it's not as if it's promoting any of that. It's really just trying to highlight what you are allowed to and not allowed to do. As Dr. Michael was referring to before, because we've worked so closely with Safe Farming Tasmania too, the red cross and the green tick are on all of the videos. This one here I really enjoy because, again, you have got, oh, just wait, what's wrong with this picture? I'm a school teacher. Let's go. What have we got? No helmet. No roll bar. Underage. Beautiful. So there are 3 main things, probably more things, but there are 3 main things that we're trying to make sure that we've actually got our employees. Also, it goes to the employers too. We ask them to complete it first, and so they are on the same page with all the information as well. Because again, you're going for the multi-generational pass over from family farm. And so, for instance, the new rollover devices, maybe they're not aware of that. Maybe they don't read a newspaper or anything. But we know now that we need to have them in our workplaces. So each of the videos lasts for a minute. And it's supplied by Safe Farming Tasmania. So again, it's been industry supported in the past. And it just also covers, again, it goes over the top of all language barriers. There's no spoken word in these either. To address any further points that maybe the individual didn't pick up in the video, there's a complementary engaging story. And over the top of it, as you can maybe see that bar, it's actually an audio file too. It is all in English, and there is the possibility, if it was required this is the opportunity where we do use different languages. We haven't, from our member base or any individuals yet, asked for it. However, that's obviously anything on the web is, any of these platforms is really easy to adjust. And so this just allows to suit any low literacy concerns. With one of the schools, and the 16-year-old boys were like, yeah, I can listen to it on the school bus on the way, or driving the tractor or something. So again, we're just trying to make sure that it suits everybody. The information is followed by a multiple choice style assessment, which checks the inductee has understood the content. Each module has around 2 to 4 questions on the main points, and all must be answered correctly before moving to the next module. The other certificate on offer is the human resources one. So the content was developed by the industrial relations professionals in the PET office, where they were aware of the common issues in the workplace and covered off on all those hard to talk about questions. It's a usable elaboration of the pastoral award, which is horrific. However, this is now a lot more digestible and allows for all those assumptions to be eliminated by the employers and employees. As you can see, it covers overtime. And on a farm, that's always one of those things, stating that it needs to be mutually agreed upon and clearly outlined before the day, not retrospectively when the employee wants to be paid for double for doing some weekend work just because they had free time. So this certificate takes around 20 minutes to complete. On achieving 100% accurate completion of all of the modules in each unit, the user receives a certificate they can present to their current or future employer as evidence of their knowledge and understanding. Each certificate is valid for 3 years, where the content can then remain relevant and authentic, and emphasis can be redirected as needed. Until December 31 of this year, the fees for the certificates are being waived, but a small fee will be added to each certificate in 2022 to cover promotion and maintenance of the platform. We're hoping to keep it free for all primary, secondary and tertiary students, just to make sure we've got all the youth coming through with their certificates into the industry. With the funding help from WorkCover, PET was able to employ a project officer, which is me, to guide the activities for the launch and the implementation stage of the AgCard platform. The project officer is available to support individual users, as well as attend events and promote uptake. The project officer is also looking into the development of further work health and safety content focused on individual enterprises. So looking into maybe doing a shearing shed safety unit, as well as a livestock one. So the plan is from this point that we've got a platform that will be a centralised place where the individuals can access all of the certificates that are available throughout the working in primary industries. And the plan is, for instance, we've got one with Biosecurity Tasmania. They're working on it at the moment. They will make sure that we will ask them to make sure that all the content is relevant every single year. And then they will look after the fees of the platform, but again, making sure that it is in a centralised place, just to make sure that the individual goes to one place, gets all their certificates, and then they can go into the workplace. AgCard was launched in July 2020 in the midst of COVID-19, so the large industry events ceased to run, which made the sharing of the resource to a vast audience a bit more difficult, as we're all aware. So there have been over 1,200 individual users access the online platform over the last 8 months from around the state, country and world, in fact, from agriculture to a whole variety of other industries. Individual businesses have shared positive stories about the benefit to the culture of their workplace. However, to date, it hasn't quite been possible to attribute the completion of the AgCard to a reduction in injuries, near misses or deaths in the workplace. With 39% of the users being students, PET hopes that the AgCard will future-proof the industry in terms of health and safety as they enter the workplace with a strong understanding of workplace health and safety. Scott Watson, a current teacher at Hagley Farm School and a leader of the Revitalising School Farm Network, stated that AgCard is an engaging, ready and easy to use resource that we think students studying food and fibre of agriculture in schools could achieve, and add it to the resume. The AgCard has been shared with school groups, so for instance the certificate to vet students studying agriculture, ag teachers through the Tasmanian Agricultural Education Network, individual industries, for instance at One Tasmania, cross-industry days at the TAPG Ag Expo, and PET's member base, which covers most of the other agricultural industries throughout the state. The feedback has been incredibly positive, with some large dairy farmers, for instance, asking every employee to complete both certificates before entering the workplace. This has alleviated several conversations regarding concerns around their workplace health and safety culture. So your employees, the platform allows for your employees to be grouped together, and again we can also assess to see the number of attempts at certain questions, and then provide you with that feedback to make sure if there's any gaps in knowledge that you can reiterate those points. So some take-home messages about the AgCard. So we like to think we have created a resource that is the white card equivalent for agriculture. It's a tool for a pre-employment or new employees, and also for the employers too. It is industry created and therefore recognised. It covers all the hard questions. It's something to add to the resume or the CV. It's valuable because it is valid for 3 years each, so we allow for that individual to resit the certificates just to boost their knowledge and remind themselves about certain things. We're actually ensuring an annual reassessment of the content by the provider, just to make sure we keep it relevant, but it does not replace a full on-farm induction. And we've stated that heavily. We're saying all we're doing is providing a position on which you can build your full on-farm induction without assuming anything. So just making sure the individual is getting the full story. So thank you very much for your time, and please get in contact if you're interested in the AgCard or in the platform that we actually chose to use as well. So have a login to Primary Employers Tasmania's AgCard and complete your certificates, and then you can take them to your employers or down to your employees. That'd be great. Thank you very much. Any questions?
So with it being an equivalent of the white card for construction, is there a hope or an intent for it to become a mandatory thing for farms in the future?
I think that's always the dream. I think we can aim to have that. I would like to see, again, from my school teaching position, I like to see if I can put it through all the students in secondary school and then up into their tertiary, that it comes through it's one of those programs that'll come through the industry from the bottom up rather than having a top-down approach. And I think that will hopefully mean that the workplace culture is sort of created from the bottom, not always told from the top. It would be interesting to see if it does come mandatory. Obviously, that'd be fabulous, but I think, I don't know. It'd be quite hard to mandate, I'm sure. But yeah, it's a dream.
Thanks for that, Claire. That was really, really good, and it's nice to have an update on that one since I think we last spoke about it 12 months ago. You're right that the Pastoral Award is all sorts of ordinary, particularly for employers, but the horticultural one's not much better. Is there any hope for a horticultural HR unit?
It would be really interesting to actually see if you went through our HR unit. I reckon they would overlap a lot. I would imagine there would be things that you could fill in. And if not, this is the opportunity where, again, we can sit there and say, right, well, we can add this to it, and then you could have your own one sitting on this platform. And this is where Primary Employers Tasmania, we found a hole where there wasn't anything for pre-farm. And now we sort of feel like we're slowly filling that hole, and we'd like pretty much any other group, if they're willing to create certificates to put into that space. So if there is specific ones on different enterprises or different industry groups, then that'd be fabulous to add them to that platform, because the platform exists, so we might as well use it.
From a fruit industry point of view, we're always huge fans of PET.
God.
Oh, no, seriously, the amount of times I call up those guys each month is always pretty impressive. So a lot of our growers, particularly in things like our berry industry, are very young and up and coming and very involved in PET. And it's nice to see, from our point of view, we always think the weak link is always the person who is self-taught, who's new to the industry. And we're seeing a lot of them do the right thing and reach out to these sort of organisations and get on board with these sort of programs. We're very big fans of it. And we're hoping you might be able to speak about it at our conference coming up next month.
Of course. You might get this presentation, but of course. But on that point, really happy to speak in front of anyone, because I think, not everyone wants to hear me, but I do think it is something that can be across industry. My partner's was in the mining industry, so referring back to the question before. And I think that they've just got their systems in place, and you can look at farming and it's, you've got amazing safety, full farm inductions, everything's ticker box, it's brilliant. And then you have the bottom of the line where you've got people driving down the road, like on a main road with no helmet, driving flat out, and you just sit there going, this is just accidents waiting to happen, unfortunately. Like, it's scary, but so we've got to start somewhere. So yes, happy to talk to anyone if anyone else got any contacts. Cool. Thank you very much.